Well, we finally made it. 2023, full of ups and downs for all of us, is coming to a close. And we get to celebrate being 1 year closer to the inevitable heat death of the universe. It feels like yesterday that I posted my very first video up on this channel. It was a photo recap of my month of January. I believe we have a clip. Hello and welcome to my very first YouTube video. If you ended up here, you more than likely have a love of film photography like myself. This is a channel that I'm hoping to use to document my film photography journey, and I hope to take all of you on that journey with me. My, how I have grown. In this video, we're going to recap my entire year of photography and what a prosperous one it was. Prosperous in terms of the amount of photos I took and the knowledge that I gained, not money. But I did learn a lot this year, and I took this channel to heights that I hadn't expected back in January when I started all of this. I've really enjoyed making the artist spotlight videos. Those tend to be pretty fun and informative, and I have a lot of fun researching them because they're very eye-opening, and they're also the most popular things on this channel, which is fine. I'm definitely not bitter about it. I've got a laundry list of photographers to cover in 2024, but if there's someone specifically that you're hoping for, be sure to drop a name in the comments, and I will try my best to make it happen. As for my photography, I definitely had my good months and my bad months. For instance, April and November were no good for me, but the others were fairly consistently successful. I'm going to let the cats in because they are meowing up a storm out there. Hey, you two. What time? Leave the door open. You guys don't want to come in. It's interesting going through my photos month to month and sort of seeing the progression of my eye, of my composition, my attention to detail, and lighting, etc. I started delving into portrait work later on in the summer, and that really kickstarted this fun little progression for me that I'm excited to explore in the new year. Without much further ado, I do want to get to talking about my 5 favorite photos that I took this year. It was pretty tough to make these decisions and to boil this list down to 5, and I'm fairly certain that some of you are going to be surprised by my choices. When choosing favorite images, as you'll see, it's not always about what looks the coolest or what may be the most technically impressive, but rather a confluence of other factors like my own personal connection to the image or my memory of taking the photo. But I want to hit the brakes. I want to pause for a second because it's time for us to take a trip down memory lane and look at the honorable mentions. These are photos that I love this year and were all eligible to be in my top 5 but didn't quite make the cut. So let's go ahead and look at those. wonderful. Now, let's talk about my 5 favorite photos of the year in no particular order, starting with this one. This photo was taken on Kodak Colorplus 200 with a Pentax K1000 and a 50mm lens. Okay, so this is an example of a purely visceral reaction out of me. There is something so poetic about this photo to me and something so pleasing to the eye. The vibrancy of the balloons against the drab and dull brown of the sidewalk really just speaks to the nature of the image. It reminds me to stay vibrant, even when surrounded by the drudgery of life sometimes. Something I need reminding of more and more in these New York City winter months. I was actually just saying to Harley the other day how much I hate how gray and lifeless the city feels in the winter. It really weighs on me. This photo in particular was taken the morning after a rainstorm, so the balloons are wet, but they're still inflated and they're still standing strong. This photo is just chock full of metaphors, and I love it. I also enjoy the geometry of this photo. The triangle of the street in the top right corner, the square of the triangle, which is comprised of these circles and ovals. The leading lines also bring your eye directly to the balloons. This probably isn't your typical favorites of the year photo that you'd see, but I don't know. When I was compiling this list, for whatever reason, I couldn't take this one off. It just kept advancing to the next round. I sort of do like a tournament style, and voila, here we are. This was also the year that I discovered Colorplus, and it quickly climbed the ranks as one of my favorite color film stocks that I've ever used, so don't be surprised if it pops up again later on in this list. It's relatively inexpensive with great color saturation, sharp grain, and very good exposure latitude. I also used this image for the cover art of my album that I released a couple months ago. You could find it on Spotify or Apple Music, wherever you get your music. It's called The Radiant Abyss by Half Lotus. There's going to be links in the description. You'll be able to find it. But that just goes to show how much I loved this photo. I couldn't, it had to make it on my year-end list. Anyway, I don't have much more to say about this photo. For a photo that I love so much, I think I pretty much hit all the talking points. Yeah, let's move on. Let's move on to the next one. This photo was taken on Ilford HP5 with a Nikon FG and a 50mm lens. Oh boy, here we go. I gotta go get them. Hold on. You may recall back in October that Harley and I got 2 cats, Pierre and Kirby. This is Pierre right here in my arms. And Kirby just walked in. Hello, hello. Within the first week of getting them, they immediately lit up my world. All right, he wants to get down. I was never a cat person. I was always a dog person growing up. Don't tell them that. But when Harley surprised me on my birthday with 2 kittens, I nearly melted at the sight of them. You hear that? You hear that? I nearly melted at the sight of you. I nearly melted at the sight of you. Harley and I will regularly just lounge around. Hey. Can't go up there, buddy. Come on. Harley and I will regularly just lounge around with these 2 and stare at them and watch them do whatever it is that they're doing, even if they're just taking a nap. So in that first week of having them, I picked up a roll of HP5 and I threw it in my Nikon FG, which is a camera that I don't use very often. You can go watch my review of it. And spoiler alert, it's not the only photo on this list taken with the Nikon FG. So maybe that means I gotta use it more often. But anyway, back to this photo. It was taken just a couple days after my cats arrived at our apartment as they were exploring their new home. Back in my photo recap from October, I think that I summed up what makes this photograph and the entire roll it came from so special to me. Seeing them side by side like this, a brother and sister looking out at the world, embracing a new chapter in their lives together, it's enough to just tug on my heartstrings. I know that you all don't have the emotional connection to these 2 that I have, and I know it's a very human thing to ascribe human emotions onto your pets, but I genuinely feel that a photo like this encapsulates that feeling, that sense of belonging, that sense of companionship. It even speaks to their relationship as siblings, because Pierre is, how should I say it, slightly impaired. He has a condition which hasn't been formally diagnosed, but essentially his hind legs don't have full motor function. Like, he could walk just fine and he could jump up on the couch, but when he tries to run, kind of stumbles over, he kind of waddles like a fish. So Harley and I have considered their relationship as one where Kirby, the older sister, feels protective over her little brother. She plays with him and she treats him the way that she would anyone, but there's also this look in her eye that she really, really cares about her brother. So when I see this photo, I feel that connection. I could almost hear the dialogue between them both, hopefully elated to have been adopted and looking out at their new surroundings from the comfort of their new home. I also mentioned in that recap that I was learning the value of documentation. Photography doesn't always have to be serious business. I think that film photography in general gets that reputation because of the maybe financial burden of it. For me, at least, it kind of has always felt that way. I was always trying to make serious art, serious business. But in those rare moments when I want to relax and simply document, I know I can look at these two for inspiration. And when they aren't expecting it, I could watch them looking out a window and wonder what they're thinking. Wondering if they feel as lucky as I do to be in each other's lives. Don't be surprised if I get sentimental later on in this list, but first, let's check out our third photo. This photo was taken on Kodak Colorplus with a Ricoh XR2 and a 50mm lens. Okay, so this photo right here was taken of my good friend Isabella, who has appeared on this channel a few times now. This was a photo shoot we did a few months back here in my studio, and I picked this photo for this list for a couple reasons. One, simply, I think it's very pleasing to look at. The Kodak Colorplus just drew out that saturation that I could eat up all day. I also don't know what drove me for this specific composition with the cutting off the top of her head. That wasn't a crop, that was just how the photo was taken. But I love it. The second reason I love this photo is because it represents a shift that occurred in me about halfway through the year. I'm a pretty introverted guy. I definitely enjoy my solitude, as I think a lot of photographers out there do. But at a certain point, I was thinking about the future, about how that solitude was helping me hone my craft, which is great, but it was doing very little for me in terms of building interpersonal and professional relationships. It was also just straight up limiting my portfolio, limiting what people in the future would know that I'm capable of. For a long time, I was pretty people averse, specifically and especially in my photography. You can go back to any of the photo recaps from this year prior to August, and you won't see a lot of people outside of my immediate family or close friends or my girlfriend Harley. I don't like taking pictures of people on the street without their permission, and I very rarely have the courage to actually just go ask them for it. I started researching a lot of older portrait and fashion photographers for my Artist Spotlight series, mostly because of Erwin Blumenfeld. He was the first one to catch my eye, and he led me down this rabbit hole that I was not expecting to enjoy as much as I was. After that, I made a video about Horst P. Horst and Guy Bourdin, and I have so many other fashion photographers that I'm going to be researching and making videos on in the future because I think all of their work is fantastic. The point is that sometime around August, I became enamored with photographing people intentionally. So I reached out to followers and friends on Instagram, and to my surprise, I got quite a few people raising their hands and saying that I could take photos of them. And back to the photo, Isabella was the first. I photographed my buddy Connor. I photographed some old acquaintances, Taylor and Renee. You guys saw all those photos earlier. And overall, I just started feeling myself getting more and more comfortable photographing people. And I found that this collaboration was sort of scratching this particular itch, and that desire for solitude was washing away slowly. And going back to this photograph, it feels to me like something I would see in a Guy Bourdin catalog or even Erwin Blumenfeld. There's a subtle story, a sense of mystery with the eyes being cut off. We don't know where she's looking. Also, with the part in the jacket and the way she's holding it, we don't know if the jacket is coming off or if she's putting it on. Half told and full of implication, I'm sitting here left wondering what has happened or what might yet happen. The photo for me, and you may not feel this way, chances are you don't, it feels purposeful. It feels confident in all the ways I'm not sure that I really am. But briefly, when I see this, I start to wonder if I'm capable of more. I often look at other purposeful, artful photographers and I hold them up on this pedestal. I imagine that they have this creativity swirling in their heads that I can never amount to or attempt to amount to in my lifetime. And sometimes I snap out of that. I suppress those insecurities and I go out and shoot, or I book a session with a friend or a total stranger and I come away almost always feeling like I have something to offer, which is more than I could say when I'm latched onto my solitude. I want to give a special thanks to Isabella for several shoots that we've done this year. I don't think it's the last time you'll be seeing her. Also, be sure to check out her music on Spotify. I'll have a link in the description. It's just wonderful. I do hear that she has a new album coming out, so definitely go check out her music. And while you're doing that, let's take a look at photo number 4. This photo was taken on Ilford HP5 with a Nikon FG and a 50mm lens. So this one is a lot like the first one in that it's purely visceral for me. On a primal level, I see this and it melts into a medley of shapes that just tickles my brain the right way. And yeah, it's grainy and contrasty, but what I love is the texture. That's one of the things I love. I love the tied up tarp on top of the car. I love the harmonious lines and geometric patterns. I also like to use this term layer cake to describe these types of photos because there's a clear delineation and separation of layers in the photo like this. We have 3 layers: the black of the street, the white of the car, and the gray of the tarp. To me, the whole thing feels harmonious. It was another photo that just kept climbing the ranks until eventually it ended up on this list. And going back to the topic of the Nikon FG, you may recall that I wasn't particularly impressed by that camera. So I think that this could act as a lesson that I started learning this year, that the gear that you have doesn't have to equate to the quality of your art. Some of you might be like, duh, but let's be honest, we're fed a lot of hoopla around what camera someone is shooting or what lens they're shooting on. Most of the time when you're looking at famous images from history, the last thing you hear people mention is the brand of the camera that it was shot on. Very rarely do we ever discuss that. It's a visual medium comprised of light and shapes of light and rods and cones in our eyes. So at the end of the day, if you're someone who's envious of someone's camera collection or of someone who has a specific camera and you think that your art will never hold a candle to their art because you're lacking in the gear department, maybe take a step back and remind yourself that you could be proud of your work regardless of what it was made with. Case in point, this photo right here, I love it. It's even the lock screen on my phone. My phone is somewhere else, but it's the lock screen on my phone. And I love this photo. I've loved it since the second I saw it, and I took it on probably my least favorite camera that I own. Do I have dreams of owning certain gear? Absolutely. I think we all do. But more importantly, I have dreams of making art, and as long as I'm doing that, I've got to be doing something right. All right, and we are officially on to our final photo. Let's close the year out with a bang. This photo was taken on Kentmere Pan 100 with a Bronica SQ-AI. I couldn't leave this one off the list. There was no way in hell this one wasn't making it to my end of the year list. I borrowed a Bronica SQ-AI from a friend back in the summer, and I had a ton of fun playing around with it. It was kind of sad to give it back. It was my first foray into the mighty world of medium format, something that I'm hoping to do a lot more of in 2024. So here we were, Harley and I were at this restaurant in Dumbo and the sun was setting, and seeing the light gracefully wash over her and seeing the Manhattan Bridge behind her, I knew that I had to take a photo. I love this photo so much, partly because it's a happy memory of a night that I spent with my amazing girlfriend, and because of how beautiful and happy she looks in it, but also on a purely technical and compositional level. Again, I get those brain tickles when I see this photo. I've said it many times on the channel, and I'll say it again, but I think that all great photos are comprised of concrete and implied triangles. In this photo, based on my count, I see 7 major implied triangles that all work in tandem to make a pleasing image. The photo just also feels very balanced with the right amount of light and dark, yin and yang. There's also a nice amount of depth to the image, her hand in the foreground out of focus, then she's sharp in focus, the awning behind her, and finally the bridge. Going back to what I said earlier, a lot of these favorite images are emotional for me. I can inspect the nuances of the technical aspects all I want, but at the end of the day, what I see here is a photo where my loving and lovely girlfriend is looking beautifully at a sunset with New York City behind her. This was the year that Harley and I moved in together into this apartment, and our relationship has meant a lot to me, and it's grown a lot over this year. Anyone who's ever moved in with a significant other knows that it's a big step, and you learn a lot about each other in those first few months that you're living together. Seeing this image always just gives me butterflies. And I know that you don't know her, but I hope there's an image in your own catalog from 2023 or any year of someone that you love and that you look at from time to time and that makes you immeasurably happy. Sometimes I look back on these images of people that I love and I thank the past version of myself for taking the time to take it. I learned a thing or two throughout my photography journey this year. I learned that as parts of this world, we share in its impermanence, and just as we desire to be immortalized, sometimes the world desires as well. And it asks us politely in quiet moments such as these, take a photo, please. And there's no particular reason to capture this or that moment in time. I think it's all in the attempt at affording the physical world the opportunity of having some type of language. Because the camera could be seen as a device that's designed to record what's rapidly disappearing. People will sometimes say that you aren't fully living in the moment when you stop and take a photograph, but I disagree. You aren't just living in it, you are bathing in it, you are practically swimming in the moment. Photography gives shape to our existence. It doesn't just give you the appearance of participation, it gives you actual proof of it. This is the proof right here. All these months later, after I took the photo, and I'm still swimming in the moment with all of you. Because now you are too. And I thank you for sharing it with me. I want to give a sincere thank you to everyone who's been trickling into this channel as the year has gone by. We're getting a decent number of subscribers every day, which is wonderful. I'm very happy to see people getting involved. And I also want to thank those who have been there from the beginning. You guys are the real heroes. I cannot wait to see what 2024 has in store for me in terms of my photography and this channel and this life outside of photography and this channel. All I know is I hope that you continue along this journey with me and maybe tell your friends about the channel. You could follow me on Instagram, send me a DM, I'd love to connect with all of you that are watching. Show me your favorite work from 2023. I would love to see what kind of work you guys are making. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and hit the bell to be notified when new videos are released. You can go ahead and find that join button and become a member, and you can get some interesting perks, and you could also help this channel grow and flourish, and maybe buy me a coffee or something. You can also head over to my print shop where you will see a lot of photos from 2023, and you can get them printed and sent to your home, and you can hang them up on your walls, and you can really help this channel grow that way. And I think that about does it. I want to wish you all a very happy new year. Stay safe out there. I'll see you all in 2024. Pierre wanted to say goodbye to everyone and say Happy New Year. Go ahead, Pierre.
Happy New Year, you heathens. You scoundrels. I know what you've been up to. You're all... Give me that back. Give me that back. I haven't finished. Wait a minute. This smells amazing. I wonder, what would it taste like? Let me give it a lick.
You like that?
Can I lick it? I'm gonna lick it anyway. Oh, wow. Oh, yes.
Can you hear that?
Oh, yes, I need more of that. I need more. Whatever this mysterious device is. Oh, wait, you can't take it away from me. No. I need that. I need it. No.
You're done.
Give it back. No!